Good afternoon, everybody. And welcome to my talk about dbdeployer. In case you don't know, my name is Giuseppe. I work with VMware, but VMware is not involved in anything that I tell you today. And I've been working with databases for a long time and with open source and open source community for a long time either. I have a Twitter account named Data Charmer, where you will find these slides later on. And if you want to have a quick description of this, the tool that we talk today, can you please pass some of this? Thank you. So, nothing about my company. I don't work for Oracle, just to make it clear. Have you ever heard of MySQL Sandbox? Nobody? Okay, this is a tool that allows you to deploy quickly a MySQL server. And it's something that has been working for a long time, starting in 2006. So this thing grew very, very much. So I decided that I wanted to improve MySQL Sandbox. So I wanted to change it in such a way that I could make it better, faster, and more easy to improve. So I could do that in Python, but then I changed my mind, in Ruby, and Ruby, disappeared. In C++, I seriously changed about that, thought about that. In Java, just joking, or in JavaScript, no. And finally, I said, in Go. And, eventually this happened. So I took some time of my free time, and I rewrote MySQL Sandbox in Go. Why didn't use some of the most available things like Perl, Python, Ruby? Basically, they have the same problem. And the problem is the burden of build and installation is on the user. So you get this application and you need to install it. And if you don't have the right libraries, the right modules, or you don't know how to install this, you are lost. So even if you use RPMs or things like that, eventually you will have some dependency issues that will force you to change the whole operating system. So I went with Go because the burden of building it is on me. I do it once, and I prepare the executable. The only thing you need to do is take the executable and use it. It's fast, much faster than Perl and Python. Surprisingly for me as well, is fast also to develop in Go. Once I got over the initial problems coming from different languages. And I see that there is basically everything that you need in the community. So what is dbdeployer? Let's get to this. It's a command line tool. It doesn't have any dependencies, so you can just put the executable in your operating system and it will work. The interface is similar to Git or Docker, so it's menus inside menus. And you can run single database replication, group replication, multi-source replication, and it will make your life with the database much easier, because the sandbox that is created will be ready to use. So what can you do? You install a single sandbox. For example, you want to test MySQL 8, but you have already one database in your computer. No problem. You just use dbdeployer, and it will install MySQL 8 as a side server without interfering with anything else. Then you can have a group of sandboxes. For example, if you want to try interaction between databases with your own tools instead of standard replication. Or you can say, give me a group of servers with replication already in there. Or you can decide I want with or without a GTID. And it will give you tools to do quick operations with replications. Or have you heard about group replication, the latest proposal from MySQL 7 and 8, 5.7 and 8? You can install it in one go using dbdeployer. Or you can have a multi-source replication where you can have fan-in or all masters topologies as easily as you can have a regular replication. What else can you do? You can do the administration of the replication using tools that are created at the same moment that your database is deployed. So inside your database sandbox, you will find tools that are created on the fly for that specific database, so you can do operations in the database without remembering which port is using and which path it is using. You can also customize it. Unlike MySQL Sandbox, that was a collection of scripts that grew over the year, this is very well organized. So if you want to change the way that the custom scripts work for your database, you can just export them, change them, re-import into dbdeployer, and then use it. Also, it will avoid the clashes of ports for different databases. So if you install something like a dozen databases, chances are that you may have a conflict in the ports that you are using. So the dbdeployer will check automatically for the available ports and prevent you from using ports that are already taken. Then you can do things that are, useful in this case for new features that are offered by MySQL 5.7 and 8. So if you want to try the data dictionary and also see the tables, you know that data dictionary in MySQL 8 is a new feature with hidden tables. MySQL dbdeployer can allow you to discover the tables, make them unhidden, and observe them at ease. You can also define some commands that you want to run before or after the users are created in your database. A lot of things that are designed for testing. What is the procedure to install it? So if you want to try it, you go to GitHub, Data Charmer dbdeployer, find releases, download the binary for your operating system, put the binary in a directory within your path, and then you run it. So this is the GitHub page, you see releases. Basically, if you go today, you will find 3 or 4 more. Then you find the latest one, get the executable for your operating system, and then you are done. How do you use it? In addition to have a dbdeployer, you need to have the tarball for MySQL. So you need to download the MySQL binary tarball, tell dbdeployer to expand it, and then start creating sandboxes. For example, this, you get the one for macOS, but you can get the same thing for Linux. 64-bit, compressed tar archive. And once you have it, this is the way it works. You get the tarball, then you say dbdeployer unpack and the name of the tarball, and then you say dbdeployer deploy single and the version number. Or dbdeployer deploy multiple or replication, and this will work without any additional detail unless you want to give that detail. So this is an example of a real command that was executed. So first we do unpack, and unpack is something that you have to do only once. So you get the tarball, run unpack, and what does it do? It creates one directory called with the version number. After you have this unpacked, you will ask for what is available, and it will tell you, you see 8011 is available. And then you can say dbdeployer deploy single 8011. And this is what you need to create a new single instance of a database. When you run the help of dbdeployer, you see all the classes of operations that you can do. Very quickly, there is unpack that we have seen. The versions will tell you what is available. The deploy will do the real work. The sandboxes will list what you have installed. The usage is basically a short manual to tell you how you can use the sandboxes that you have installed. Global is a set of shortcuts that you can use to test quickly all the sandboxes at once. Delete when you want to get rid of the sandboxes. And defaults is task related to the organization of the dbdeployer if you want to customize it. And finally, admin has a few tasks to allow you to make the sandbox permanent or make it in such a way that you can delete it. So for every command, you see that you do unpack, you will get a short manual that tells you more or less what you can do. And for more, you just read the documentation that is in the website. In deploy, you will see that there is a lot of options that allows you to deploy with a high degree of customization. There are a lot. So deploy single is when you create a single database. Deploy multiple when you create multiple databases. And replication, you can do regular replication, one master and two slaves, or replication with different topologies for group replication and multi-master. What else? The usage I mentioned, this was a short manual of the things that you can do inside the sandbox. And if you are interested, there is a list of things that dbdeployer can do and MySQL Sandbox cannot. So in this slide is what is common to both, and basically is what I have described so far. In practice, what is interesting is everything that dbdeployer, after I wrote it again in Go, allowed me to do, and I could not do in the old version of MySQL Sandbox, just because I made a new architecture that allows me to add new feature very quickly. So let's see. The cool thing is that now we are going to see in practice what I can do. Any questions? I'm not going to unpack anything because basically the operation is the thing that you have seen in the slides. When I say dbdeployer versions, this is the list of MySQL tarballs that have been expanded and are ready to be used. For example, dbdeployer deploy single 5091. And I have installed a single server. Let's do a replication. For MySQL 5.0 is very fast because the server is small, very quick. You see, I have now 4 servers, one single, then we have one master and 2 slaves, and they all work together. Let's prove it. dbdeployer global test. And nobody is complaining. Everybody says that it's working. So I have 4 servers that are working so far. dbdeployer sandboxes tells me that I have one single occurrence of MySQL 5091 and one replication occurrence. But let's try to do something a bit heavier. So instead of 5.0, we do 8.0.11 and topology group. And I ask also to run concurrently, so it will install all the nodes at the same time. So this is something that I could not do with the old MySQL Sandbox, but I can do using Go because it's very easy to manipulate. So now, with the time that I should use to install a single MySQL 8.0, I install in 3. And the only thing that I need to wait for is this thing that you see on the screen now, is initialize nodes. So it's the operation that it uses to create 3 nodes. And now I need to reduce this a bit. What does it do? One thing that it does, you know that MySQL uses a UUID to identify the server, and the UUID is difficult to read by humans. So dbdeployer changes this UUID in such a way that it's still something long, but at least it gives you the idea that this is the first one, this is the second one, and this is the third one. So instead of having UUIDs that are for machines, you get UUIDs that are for humans. And this is a group replication ready for work, and we can prove that is working. We can say sandboxes group MSB test replication. This test replication is a script that has been created when it was deployed. You see, I have 3 masters. Everyone has created one table, inserted a record, and then everybody, because in group replication every node is a master and a slave, every slave has received tables from all masters, so the test passes. Let's do, instead of all primaries, like this one, there are 3 masters. Let's do single primary. It works in the same way. Now, in parallel, it's deploying the 3 nodes. Then it will initialize them. And after a few seconds, you should see the result. So the result, you see, is different from the previous one. You will have primary, secondary, secondary, instead of having all of them that are primary. So this is something that if you want to try group replication, it would be quite difficult to do manually. Instead, dbdeployer allows you to do this operation very fast. So here, now let's repeat the test, but in this sandbox instead. So here we have only 1 master, because this is single primary, and 2 slaves. And this 1 master has created something that was received from the master by all slaves, and the test passes. Any questions? You don't seem impressed. No plans for MySQL cluster. Yes, sort of, but I would need some help by somebody who knows cluster better than me. So we need to know how to do things manually using 3 nodes in the same place, so I can automate it. First. Second, I need to find time. But, you can, okay, if you want to help, you write a proof of concept with the operation, how it works manually. So you deploy 3 servers in the same place using the cluster tarball, and show me how to initialize each one of them, and I will find a way of making this happen in automatic. This is the way it has worked for everything. So for group replication, I had to find the time to test it on my own. I found the way of doing this manually, and then I say, okay, now let's do it always automatically. So if we run now dbdeployer sandboxes, you see that we have quite a lot of things. So we have a group sandbox for MySQL 8011, multi-primary. And the list that you see on the right, this one, these are the ports that are used. And why do we have more ports for MySQL 8011 than we have for MySQL 5.0? Does anybody know? We have 6 ports used instead of 3. Okay, the answer is, it was not difficult, come on. The answer is MySQL 8.0 comes with X protocol already started. So the X protocol, the one that is used for the document store, uses a separate port. So dbdeployer knows that, and instead of using the default port that would be 33060, it will assign a separate port for this second service. And this is why you will see that you have one more port than what is used in regular deployment. In fact, let's do one more and do a single. Now we have a single dbdeployer, a single MySQL 8011. And you see that for the single one, you have 2 ports. Basically, what dbdeployer does, it takes the regular port assigned to this database. The regular port is taken from the version. So the version is 8011, and the port is 8011. And we add 10,000 to get the port for the second service. I will give a sticker to the one who makes the next question. Nobody wants a dbdeployer sticker? Why did I change the name? Because I have ambitions. Okay. So it's called dbdeployer because theoretically it could install more than MySQL. Always with the provision that I need to find the time and somebody to give me ideas on how to do it. So with this, let's go back to the slides. One thing that you may notice if you try to find to use this is that we have a strange version. The current version is 1.6.0, but you know this thing is 6 months old. So 1.6, if you take MySQL, that goes 3 years from MySQL 5 to MySQL 6. So how does it work? It works in a different way. So I use something that is called semantic versioning. meaning that if I just do a bug fix, then it goes from the current version changing only the last number. So 121.3 becomes 121.4. This means if you see this kind of change, you say, okay, nothing to be worried about. Maybe if this bug doesn't affect me, I won't even download it. If I change the minor, so from 121 to 122, it means that there are new features, and the features are compatible. So I'm not breaking anything, but there is something new that you can use. So if you see this, for example, here it went from 153 to 160. It means that there are new features that are compatible. So nothing breaks, but you might be interested that there is something new that you didn't know about. And finally, if you see that it changes from 1 to 2, it means that there are incompatible changes. I not plan to ever do that unless there is something so marvelous that will force me to. But this is what you will see. So if you see a change of this this kind, you know that there is something really good, but also there is the risk that something that was working so far might not work later on. So this is called semantic versioning, that using the number tells you whether you should be concerned about this latest release or not. So things that I'm thinking of, install Sandbox from remote tarball is something that I need to contact Oracle because they have plans about this, and I still haven't seen the final of these plans. And another thing is when you unpack a tarball, you get something like 2 gigabytes of binaries in MySQL 8, and maybe I can find a way of slimming down a bit. dbdeployer is open source, uses the Apache license. If you want to contribute, just go to GitHub and fork it and send me a pull request. And that's it. Thank you.